I am having such a mind blank with character names today. Fucking hell. Hey guys, this is Eliza and welcome back to a new video. So today we will be wrapping up the month of April. I read 18 freaking books in April and I'm super happy about it. Most of them were audiobooks, but hey, we'll get into that. I have my reading planner here. This is the Always Fully Booked planner by Little Inkling Designs. So I decided I might show you guys this whenever I do a wrap up, because there is a wrap up section at the end of each month. So in here we've got the books read, which I haven't actually filled out. I've read 18 books though. Then we've got our favorite read. So I've put down either The Princess and the Fangirl or Dear Martin. Haven't decided which one is my favorite, but out of those two. And then things I'm currently loving. So I've put the song Go Away Girl by Ed Sheeran. I've been loving that. I don't know why. It's not new, but I've been listening to that a lot. Rereading, I did, as you will soon find out, a ton of rereading in May. I've been loving it. I think it's really helping with getting the fuck out of the slump that I was in for like 4 months. So I'm not mad at it. I'm rereading and I'm loving it. So then audiobooks, I got well back into audiobooks. There's been like a fair while that I was just like, I didn't really feel like listening to audiobooks. I would just have YouTube videos playing or music playing, but I've gotten back into audiobooks, so I'm loving them right now. And then Roxy's new hoodie, which I will insert a photo, and she's loving that too, and I think it's adorable. And then the next little section before we get into the books that I read is your favorite quote. So mine for this month, I've written down, "You are a riot to be around, kitten," which is by Nikes from the Madoran Chronicles, and I will talk about those books soon because I reread them. I love that series. I love Nikes. He is amazing, and that's one of the quotes from him from, I think, is that from Greyvale? It could be from Dracora? No, I'm pretty sure it's from Greyvale. And then just here I've put like a key to say what colours mean what. So yeah, I just thought I would show you guys this at the start of my wrap-ups. And yeah, let's just get into the actual books that I read. So first we'll start with the books I either physically read or on ebook, and then we'll go into the audiobooks and then the one graphic novel that I read. So I read 6 physical books in the month of May. And the first one for that is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. This one I really enjoyed. I think I rated this 4.5. I'll put my actual ratings on the screen because I can't exactly remember. I really enjoyed it. It was really fun. Surprisingly, I only actually have like 3 tabs in here, I think. No, 4. And that is because this was like a really quick read and I was just kind of flying through it. I wasn't thinking about tabbing, like I wasn't thinking about annotating it. I was just like, you know, racing through it, and it was really good. So as most of you know, this is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and it's a very interesting twist. It wouldn't exactly say it's a retelling. It's based on the inspiration is based on it, but the actual story itself is very unique. It follows the general idea of there's a beast and a female that comes and she's meant to fall in love with him to break the curse. That's the only bit that's like actually Beauty and the Beast related. The rest of it, completely different. So this follows multiple point of view between Harper and Ren, and I loved Harper. She has, is it cerebral palsy? I'm pretty sure that's what it is. Loved the diversity. I don't think I've ever read from a character that has cerebral palsy, and it never stops her, and she was amazing. She was badass. And then Ren is, he's a little annoying at times, but he's kind of lovable. And then there's Gray, who's a side character, like he's the major side character. There's really only 3 characters we kind of follow, and we got the 2 points of view and then Gray. And I loved Gray. He was amazing, sassy, like love him to death, and apparently he's one of the main points of view in the next book, and I'm keen because I really enjoy him. But yeah, this is an awesome like modern twist on Beauty and the Beast and still in the fantasy realm. So really enjoyed that. So the next 2 books I'll talk about together, and that is The Bone Season and The Mime Order. Whoa, I'm losing the dust jacket. By Samantha Shannon. These are the first 2 books in the Bone Season series, which is a dystopian. They're just falling straight out of the dust jacket. So yeah, these are a dystopian, and this was a reread. I reread The Bone Season and The Mime Order because I was planning on reading The Song Rising, which is the 3rd book in the series, and I haven't read it yet, and I didn't get around to reading it. It's in my TBR for Scallywagathon, which is coming up. I'll leave that link down below. Obviously I enjoyed these the first time around, and I enjoyed them just as much the next time around. I've literally got, it's the same with From the Curse So Dark and Lonely. I've got 1 annotated part in this and 2 in this because I was just so engrossed in the story again. I love it. I love the main character Paige. I love all the side characters. There's a character called Eliza, which, you know, I'm a bit biased, but I love her. And I just love how there's so much into these books. Like, these are very intense dystopian, and I really enjoy that about them. There's a lot that goes into them. Like, there's a lot of political intrigue, there's a lot of information to do with the magic system, because there is a lot of characters, there is a lot of different clairvoyance gifts, so it's a little bit hard to keep track of because they've all got very unique names. So I do enjoy that they do have that in the front, just to kind of break it down for you guys a little bit, and so you understand it a little bit better. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one. I loved rereading it. I can't wait to read Song Rising. I love this world. I can't wait to see where it heads next, because this is like a 7-book series or something, and only 3 are out at the moment, but I'm so keen to see what happens next, and I love them so much. They are amazing. So the next book I read is The Princess and the Fangirl by Ashley Poston. This is the second book to Geekerella. But I read Geekerella, I think, was it 2 years ago when it released? Originally it was a standalone, but then they expanded it, and there is going to be a 3rd book in the series. But this is a Prince and the Pauper retelling, like a contemporary retelling, and I love these books. They are so fun, they are so cute. I love the atmosphere of the con, like they are at a supercon type thing called Exclusivecon. I'm not sure. One of those two. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I loved the main characters we followed. Jess was a little bit hard to get on with at the beginning, until she kind of like started opening up to herself, as well as like you got to know her a bit better. She's very closed off at the start, but that was intentional. But yeah, it was a little bit hard to get into her at the start. I really enjoyed, I am having such a mind blank with character names today, fucking hell. I really enjoyed Imogen. She was a fun kind of sassy character, and she was very passionate, but she developed really well. Actually, both characters developed really well over the book, and I loved seeing the characters from the original book, Geekerella. We meet a fair few of them throughout, some of them just in passing, others a little bit more major characters, but I really enjoyed this. Love it. Highly recommend it if you just need like a quick, easy, fun read, and also full of diversity. So the next book is a little bit out of my normal realm, but I actually enjoyed it, and it is The Flower Girls by Alice Clark Platt. I did receive this one on e-arc from NetGalley, as well as The Princess and the Fangirl. I also had an e-arc of that, but I did have both these books pre-ordered anyway, so I do have physical copies. This one is a adult thriller type situation, and it was very interesting. Like, I don't want to go into any details about this one, but yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very mysterious, very like gripping, very on the edge of your seat, trying to guess what the hell is happening. And in the end, I still don't believe what the fuck went down in this book. Like, it was intense, but it was really good. I will give a little bit of a trigger warning for the abuse of a child, the kidnapping of a child, the murder of a child. All of that is in here. So if you're a bit iffy on the topic of the death around children and the abuse around children, then probably wouldn't recommend this one. So the last physical book I read, besides the graphic novel that I'll talk about soon, is Dear Martin by Nick Stone. This is a very, very short book. Like, this is only just 200 pages, and this is based around the Black Lives Matter movement in America. Teen shooting, a white cop shot a black kid unarmed. You get the situation. Very much on the same vein as The Hate U Give. But I really enjoyed this one. It's super short. It gets to the point very quickly. There is also like a romance going on in here between a black person and a white person that isn't exactly accepted by the family of one side. Don't want to give too much away. We deal with that as well, but I really enjoyed this. I've got like so many sticky tabs in here, which is ridiculous considering it's like 200 pages. But this book was amazing. It was hard hitting. It was very quick to the point, get it over and done with, which I actually enjoyed. And I liked that as this book entails Dear Martin, he's writing letters to Martin Luther King Jr. throughout the book. So it was a little bit confusing because I did read this on ebook, and then I got a copy. This came in the mail today, and then I put all my annotations in. But I read this on ebook, and it was a little hard to differentiate between when he was like just writing to Martin and when he was like, it was just a normal novel plot of the story. In the actual book, you can definitely tell a font difference, so it was a little hard to differentiate in the ebook, and I got a little bit confused at the start, but I really enjoyed this. It's a very important story and I highly recommend it. If you enjoyed books like The Hate You Give, definitely recommend this one. It is super short, so wouldn't exactly say it's an easy read, but it's super short. So now onto the audiobooks that I read in April. The first two is Murder in Mesopotamia and Cards on the Table by Agatha Christie. These are two books in the Hercule Poirot series. I don't know what numbers they are. I think I'm up to around 15 or something. I'm not sure, there's too many of them. I'm confused. These books are always really enjoyable. I have not disliked one of the books from the Hercule Poirot series. Really enjoyed them. They're always very mysterious, very well written. I love them. I listen to them on audiobook all the time because I really like the narrator. The narrator for Hastings is Hugh Fraser. On the odd occasion you will have one narrated by someone else, especially if on the odd occasion the book isn't written from the point of view of Hastings. Occasionally it's written by from the point of view of a third person, which is a little bit interesting because I love Hastings. Hastings is amazing, and one of these was narrated, I can't remember which one, one of these was narrated by a female, and her accent, not her accent, like her voices for certain characters got really obnoxious. But the ones by Hugh Fraser, highly recommend the audiobook, but I recommend the Hercule Poirot series in general. It's amazing. Okay, so next I read the entire Madoran Chronicles series on audiobook. I'm gonna put them all down because I'm not that good at balancing. I reread the entire series on audiobook. I love this series. It's one of my all-time favorite series, and I had to reread it when the audiobooks came out. They're exclusive to Audible, so I highly recommend going and checking them out if you can get them, and I highly recommend this series in general because it is amazing. So I'll talk about the first book. I won't talk about the rest of them that much because spoilers. This one follows Alex, who is at a school she's meant to be attending. She's just going to enroll. She steps through a doorway and ends up in the middle of a forest in Medora. So Medora is another world of, I'm not sure if it's parallel to ours, but it's another world. She basically just tries to figure out what the hell happened, why she's here, and then shit goes down, and yeah. This is a portal fantasy, but it's also in the generalization of it is I can't think of the word I'm looking for, but it's basically when the main character is the one that has to save everyone, like Harry Potter. I can't think of what is the phrase I'm looking for, but that is what this is in the essence of it, but it is so much more than that. I absolutely love this series. I love Alex as a main character. She is amazing, and I love the friend group that she develops throughout the series. She has her three best friends, DC, Jordan, and Bear, and they are all amazing. Like, literally my favorite friend group outside of like Harry Potter's Harry, Ron, Hermione. They are like my favorite. And then we also have towards the end the addition of two other characters and a love interest that doesn't come into like Greyvale, which is the fourth book. Yes, the fourth book. No romance like comes into it until like the fourth book, which I loved because I'm not a huge fan of romance, but this was definitely like a very slow build up, so I didn't mind it, and I love the character that she ends up with. So highly recommend this. The audiobook's actually really well done and I really enjoyed it. I can't recommend this enough. There's magic, there's dragons, there's new worlds, there's magical schools, there's like so much that goes down, and I love all of it. There's time travel. Like, just go and read this series. Just go and do it. I just realized I actually finished 19 books because I finished a book late last night, so that was technically yesterday, so that was April. So I actually finished 19 books. So next audiobooks I listened to was The Illuminator Files by J. Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. I finished Obsidio last night, and this was again a reread for me. I'm not holding them up, they're too heavy. This one's heavy enough as it is. But yeah, I absolutely love this series. It is amazing. I loved rereading it, and I loved seeing all the little points that made sense towards the end but you didn't pick up on the start, because there is plenty. Absolutely loved the series. I love all the characters. All the characters are very well done, and I highly recommend the audiobook. It is the most well-produced audiobook I have ever listened to, and I've listened to a lot of audiobooks. The audiobooks for this series are literally like a whole other experience to the book. Like, these books are an experience in themselves because of how they are written, but the audiobooks take it from being a dossier of documents to feeling real. Like, it's so good. The audiobook is amazing. It's full cast narration. Like, there are so many narrators. Highly, highly, highly recommend these books. And highly recommend the audiobook. So the last audiobook I listened to was Stars Above by Marissa Meyer. This is a bind-up of novella stories from the Lunar Chronicles. I read the main 4 books in the series and really enjoyed them, but I hadn't read Stars Above, and I needed a book with stars in the title for the Owls Readathon, which you'll be seeing a wrap-up for very soon. So I decided to read it, and I did really enjoy it. It gave just that little bit more information, which I really enjoyed, and I feel like I need to reread. I feel like I need to reread all my books right now. Like, I'm in such a rereading mood, but I feel like I need to reread that series because I did really enjoy it, and then read it with the novellas at the correct times, because the novellas in Stars Above are from different points in the series. I think 2 of them are before the series, and then 1 of them's between something and something, and then there's 1 that's afterwards. And so the last book I read was a graphic novel, and that was Giant Days Volume 1 by I don't know who. I'm sorry. I read this one on ebook. If there is a ton of ebooks now on Scribd, I mentioned it in another video, but definitely go and check it out because there is a heap of them. Giant Days, there's most of the volumes, I'm pretty sure. I don't know how many are in the series, but I know there's a fair few on there. And if you're looking for graphic novels, because there's not actually a category for graphic novels, there's a category for magazines but not comics and graphic novels. So if you just search volume 1 in the search bar, that will come up with generally graphic novels and comics, because they're usually the only things with volumes. So little pro tips for Scribd there. So I read Giant Days. I'm not sure how I feel about it yet. Like, I feel like 1 graphic novel isn't really enough to get into it. I think it was like 113 pages or something. It was quirky and kind of interesting, and I'm curious, but I don't really have that big of an opinion on it yet. But that is just because the graphic novels are so short. You get so little story in those pages, so I always have trouble getting into graphic novels at the start because I just feel like you don't get enough from 1. I'll definitely be continuing the series because I'm curious and they're quick and easy. So definitely look out for them. There'll be more in my wrap-ups in the future. So yeah, I think that is it for my wrap-up for April. I read 19 books. A lot of them were audiobooks, a lot of them were rereads. How many books did I reread actually? So 11 of the books I read this month were rereads. So as I said, definitely been in a rereading mood and an audiobook mood, and I'm loving it. That is it for this video. Let me know if you've read any of these books and whether you enjoyed them. I'll leave any links to reviews down below, and yeah, that is it for this video.